Welcome to It's All Correlated. I'm your host, Jordan Phillip, and my first guest ever of the year is Malik Hassan. He is the founder of Infinite Marketing Solutions and the co-founder of Change the Narrative. How you doing?
Doing good, brother. What about yourself?
Great. We just had like a 10-minute conversation. We probably got through most of the questions by accident, but we'll progress. We'll progress.
Hey, it's all good.
So I just want to ask you about Change the Narrative. Uh, what is Change the Narrative?
Yeah, so Changing the Narrative is a nonprofit organization that myself and um, two other individuals founded, and pretty much our thing is we want to change the narrative on just many different aspects of life, but one primarily being how the community views us as black men or just young people, right? So a lot of the times we would be in the community, we'd be doing things, and we would hear like, oh, a lot of black men aren't involved in the community. The black community doesn't have a lot of positive role models, and we wanted to be a part of that change, right? And not just talk about it, but actually become it. So we started changing the narrative, and like some of the things that we do is just going out into communities and providing mentorship to the youth, right? Because a lot of the youth, they don't have positive role models to look up to. And we
Right.
just create programs and various workshops around empowering young people to be who their community will one be who they need to be, and then be who their community needs them to be. So that's a little bit about changing the narrative.
Okay. And short term, like let's say the next 3 to 5 years, what do you hope is the impact of change the narrative? And I was just gonna add on to that. And like where do you see like the business itself being? Like besides the impact, like what about the business as a whole?
You know, I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, definitely changing narrative would have impacted thousands, if not tens of thousands of young people, and between the ages of 8 and 17. Right now, we're working on something where we're building out curriculums for school systems for schools to implement into their curriculum, and pretty much just helping the youth to develop positive mindsets, right? And we understand that the mindset lays at the root of everything that we do. So if we want to change people's behaviors, right, we have to help them to develop a positive mindset. So yeah, just like again, I see like in the next 3 to 5 years, definitely change the narrative, like all around the country, LA, we're already in Vegas,
Hmm.
Chicago, Atlanta, New York, like just world, and eventually, international.
Right.
Whereas we're just impacting the youth on a large scale, and really get into the nitty gritty of some of the problems that the youth face today. You know,
And what do you think are the biggest problems that the youth are facing that you have seen?
I think, I mean, I think they've the narrative has changed so much because of like COVID and just different things. Because kids nowadays are very much so like they're not very social.
Hmm.
Right? They're on their phones, they're doing different stuff, so they're not like they don't really have that interpersonal skills where they can communicate with other people effectively and build relationships effectively, right?
Hmm.
So like really helping them to build up those interpersonal skills, right? And then another thing, because they lack that social interaction, I think a lot of children nowadays lack self-esteem,
Yep.
right? Has low self-esteem. And also social media contributes to it, because they see a lot of these things on social media, and they see a lot of glamorous things because that's usually what showcased on social media, and they look at
Right.
their lives and they're like, wow, like I don't have those things in my life, so my life sucks, right? So they kind of develop a toxic mindset, because they don't have these things in their lives. So really, like, one of the things would be helping them to establish a sense of self, and for them to be comfortable in their own skin, and be okay with with being their self.
Right.
So like really just helping them to develop that self-esteem, that self-confidence, I think is huge.
So you're gonna pretty much be like a have like a boys and girls club or a big brother type of organization, right?
Yeah, and that's pretty much like how it's set up, right?
Hmm.
Like we don't come into schools like, yeah, we're teachers, we're informers, but we're not coming into the schools as a stereotypical teacher, right? One, we're young, so we're still relatable. We can still, we wear a lot of the same clothes. We still can talk the talk. You know what I'm saying? So we're
Right.
more relatable in that aspect. But then we're coming at them from a standpoint of not. We're coming at them from a real standpoint. We're saying like, hey, look, I've been in your shoes. I've been in that seat that you're sitting in. I've been there.
Right.
A lot of the actions that you're taking, I've already done them. And these are the results that I got behind taking those certain actions.
Hmm.
Now, you can still choose to take those actions, or you can choose to do something different in order to get different results in your life. You know what I'm saying? And for me personally, I wish I would have, like I always tell people, I wish I would have had a me growing up. I wish I would have had somebody like me now that would have came back and kind of just helped guide me in the right direction. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I feel like a lot of the things myself I had to learn on my own, you know. So, like I said, just being that positive role models for those kids, because you can't, like, if you can't see it, you won't become it. You have to be able to see it to become it, right? So
Right.
when you're coming and you're coming to these children, you're authentic, and they can feel the energy. The kids can pick up on the energy, and you come
Definitely.
with the realness. You like, yo, what you doing? That's not it. But hey, maybe try doing this and see what results you get from it. And I'm
Right.
gonna help guide you. I'm here with you. I'm gonna help you every step of the way. So just giving them that support and that love that they need.
And that's actually what I was gonna get into next. I remember I saw one in your post. I think it was beginning of last year. We talked about you met this guy who was your mentor, and then he asked you, "Hey, like, what music do you listen to?" And then he said, "I bet it's rap music or something." There's nothing wrong with rap
Yeah.
music, but that was your answer. And then I guess he challenged you to listen to podcasts and ebooks, right? And then
Yep.
that and you said that was a big part of why you changed your pretty much your whole lifestyle now.
Yeah.
So
That was the yeah, man. You want me to get into that?
yeah,
Yeah, so that is yeah, it's a very popular story now. Man, that guy changed my life. Like I never knew the guy, um, and I had only met him briefly, and even up until this day, I've never seen him again. But just that 30-minute conversation that I had with that gentleman completely changed my life. And you were absolutely right. He asked me what music I listened to, and I told him, like, the stereotypical music, of course, like hip hop. Um, and he said, okay, like, I figured you were going to say that. So that's what kind of
yeah,
caught me off guard. I was like, okay, what are you trying to, like, you judging me,
right,
and he was like, but look, I'm gonna challenge you to stop listening to that and start listening to, podcasts, books, audiobooks, whatever,
hmm,
and come back and he said, come back in a year and tell me how much your thinking has changed. So
right,
when he said it, it was weird because nobody had ever spoken to me like that. Um, and then I went back home and I forgot about the conversation, honestly.
hmm,
And I think I was just on my phone and I noticed, the purple app. Like I noticed like the podcast app.
yeah,
And I was like, okay, I never even noticed this thing. So I clicked it
hmm,
and I was like, okay, what do I search? So I just typed in motivation and Les Brown popped up. And I
hmm,
listened to the Les Brown archives. And after maybe 2 or 3 days of listening to that stuff, like my mindset had did a entire like a 180, and I had that aha moment where I was like, wow, like I'm behind the curve,
hmm,
you know, and I was like, okay, I need to make a change, and because I didn't like at that time, everything like divine intervention, right? At that time, I was having a lot of internal conflict within myself because I didn't like the person who I was becoming,
hmm,
right? So I was like, okay, I need to make a shift, and it starts with me. It starts with me making the decision to make the change. That was the first step. And ever since then, it completely changed my life. Set me on an entirely different path.
Wow. It's kind of funny that you said that you didn't like who you're becoming. Because when we first met, I thought you were like the most mature person out of the 40 people
Oh, right.
we were at boot camp with.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like when everyone was laughing and playing around,
Which,
you had a straight face. And I was like, wow,
yeah. No,
this guy's different.
I've always been disciplined.
Yeah.
I've always been disciplined. I can thank my mom for that. I
Hmm.
grew up in a very structured, a very disciplined household. Like, we
Hmm.
had chores to do, and like we did them. Like, my mom wasn't playing no games. Like, if we had to mow the grass, we was mowing the grass. So you was waking up. Like, if you didn't, then you was gonna get the belt. Like, so
Yeah.
I've always had that discipline, and I knew when to lock in. you
Hmm.
know. But a lot of course, like, young, right? I was a kid, and a lot of choices that you make when you're young aren't progressive to the life that you actually want to create for yourself. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it's like you have this big vision of the life that you want to create. Oh, I want this amount of money in my bank account. Oh, I want to, be with this, type of person. Oh, I want to have these kind of friends. Oh, I want to have this kind of job. But when you're young, a lot of the decisions that you make aren't in alignment with creating that life,
Right.
you know. So, like with me having an aha moment, it was like, okay, I want to create this type of life. What actions do I need to start taking in order to create that? Because the actions that I'm taking now are not going to be progressive. They're going to lead me down a path of destruction.
Right.
So I need to save my life, and that's how I looked at it. Like, I looked at it, I didn't look at it like, oh, I'm trying to secure this, this nice job, or, oh, I'm trying to attract whatever. I looked at it like, I'm trying to save my life. Like, if I
Yeah.
don't change my mindset, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And that's just how, like, me, that's just how my mind is, like, wired. Like, I don't like, it's never in between for me. It's either one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So, yeah, my wife hates it because I take everything to the extreme, because
Yeah.
it's no in between. But that's just how I'm set up. So when I looked at it like that, it's like I almost kicked into like a survival mode. Right? It was like, all right, let's go. And I just started,
Hmm.
like, I mean, I was digesting books like crazy. This information, I
Hmm.
just wanted information, more information. I just want to arm myself with information so I can have, um, I can make more conscious choices. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man.
So it's not like because when people create goals, right? Like a New Year's resolution, it's like, oh, for New Year's, I'm going to gain 15 pounds. But then if you even do hit that goal, then what, right? You're more like, this is a long term, like
It's a
restructuring of your
journey.
life. And let's say people do have those like aha moments, because everyone has moments where it's like, oh, my life needs to change. But like, what did you do to stay consistent with those changes?
Held myself accountable,
Hmm.
um, right? Because I remember, I'm not looking at it as I'm looking at it as an extreme something,
Yeah.
right? So I'm looking at this thing like, if I don't make these changes, my life will end.
Hmm.
I want to live.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was like, I'm 100%. I'm making these changes. I'm 100%. I'm staying accountable. 100%. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in order to create what I need to create within my life. In order for me to be, like, I'm sorry, in order for me to become who I need to be, in order for me to create the things that I need to have in my life. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? And that's just like, this, that self accountability kept me accountable. But don't get me wrong, I'm human. And and I will have moments, and I still do have moments
Right.
of self doubt, right? So I started learning mechanisms. I really started getting into, like, affirmations.
Hmm.
I started getting into, just having things written down and readily accessible. So when I have those moments, I can take myself through, like, almost like I don't even know what to call it, but almost like a training. I was, like,
Hmm.
conditioning myself. So when I would have negative thoughts, or I would have moments where I felt I didn't feel empowered, I would open up my phone. I had things written down that I would just go through, say out loud, and to kind of build me back up. And when I would have negative thoughts, I would have to put three positive thoughts behind that negative thought. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And over time, me practicing that, it became like I conditioned myself to when I had negative thoughts, just instinctual.
Okay.
But then also who I started surrounding myself with. I started surrounding myself with like-minded individuals that wanted the same, if not more, for their lives. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it was like when you're surrounded by a bunch of people that's just getting after it, people that take their lives serious, man, it like really accelerates your growth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that was, I would say, that was one of the biggest things, man. I started to attract people that were next level.
Right.
They were next level, and it just transcended me. You know.
Because I think I saw one of your videos or not yesterday, but earlier this week about you met mostly people who you started to change the narrative with at like a networking event, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm at networking events. Like, so, I was having a question. I was having uh, a discussion with this young lady, and she
Mm-hmm.
was having some issues with finding good men. And I asked her. I said, "Well, when you go out and you're looking for, not necessarily looking, but when you're out, right, and you're talking to men, what environment are you meeting these guys in?" And she was like, "The club."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told her, like, well, I'm gonna be honest. You probably won't meet good caliber men in the club. And
Right.
I'm not saying that good men don't exist in that environment,
Right.
but the majority of the people that you're gonna meet, they're on a certain frequency.
Mm-hmm.
They have a certain mindset. They're looking for a certain thing.
Right.
So when you put yourself in that environment, you're looking for those things. What do you expect to get? Right.
Right.
So for me, to bring it back full circle, for me, I was like, okay, if I want to surround myself with focused people, with people that want to take their lives to the next level, where do those people go? Where do those people hang out? What do those people do? And I
Mm-hmm.
start putting myself in those environments. So one of a great place for finding those type dogmatic people is our networking events.
Mm-hmm.
Like hunters, dogs, like they want to network with other hunters, other dogs, like, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
networking events are great places to do that. Business conferences, workshops, what I'm saying, where the theme is personal development, the theme is enhancing whatever skill set, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started going to those, and I met, a ton. Like, even to I still do, like, even to this day.
Yep.
Hundreds of, just great people. People that you can actually build with, people that value relationships. See, everybody doesn't value relationships. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So people that actually see the value in having progressive relationships, and take time to nurture relationships. You know what I'm saying? So just different caliber of people, man, and even mentors as well. Great place to meet mentors.
And would you say people who don't value relationships, like let's say you have a friend who's not on the same type of time you're on, or they're just, you know, they're not really going nowhere.
Yeah.
Is it up to you to drag them along with you, or would you just have to cut them off?
Every situation is different. Every situation is different. And I can speak from my personal experiences because I had this happen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own season, right? So just because your season was in 2019 or
Yep.
2017 and the other person's wasn't, you
Mm-hmm.
can't and their season might be in 2024. It's coming.
Yep.
But you can't drag them along. You can't try to force it upon them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it'll never work. I tried to do it with my wife. I tried to do it with some of my closest friends. and it didn't work. I had to be patient. I had to wait on their season. Now, if you value the relationship, if you really see the potential, you value that person, then you'll still keep them around. They may not be as close as you may not keep them as close, or you may limit the time spent with that person.
Mhm.
Um, but you don't necessarily give up on them. So what I started doing was there were certain people who I knew they had the potential. I seen the potential.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, I can't spend every day with you like I used to.
Right.
Now I'm gonna kick it with you once a week, or it may be whatever, and the conversation is different, or whatever is different. Or I was just like, if we didn't talk as much, like with my wife, what I learned was I had to show her by being the example. I couldn't
Mhm.
just be like, oh, you need to read. Oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to stop binge watching that show.
Yeah.
Because she would reject it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna become the example. When she sees me change, and she sees the man that I'm becoming, she sees the respect that I'm gaining within the community, all of these things that I'm doing, she'll come around. So I would just, and I would give her small little nuggets on things, right? So, for example, I might just be like, come in and just tell her about something I learned today.
Mhm.
Or I would just like plant small seeds in different aspects. And then those seeds over time they grow. It takes
Mhm.
time, but they grow over time. And then you look up and, like, for an example, like, I'm gonna just use my wife as an example. When it comes to business, she wasn't interested in business at all. Like,
Right.
she was cool with just her life, 9 to 5. Um, like, she was good with that. She was content with that. Like, that
Mhm.
brought, like, she was just good. And I tell her, like, hey, like I get it, but that won't necessarily lead us to creating the life that we need to have.
Mhm.
Hey, have you ever thought about this platform? It was Airbnb. Yeah, I heard about it, but not really. Oh, okay, cool. So
Mhm.
then, like, I would send reels to her Instagram. She's always on Instagram. So I just
Mhm.
started like sending little reels to her. Oh,
Yeah.
check this out. This girl made this much off Airbnb. Oh, this person was able to create this off Airbnb. And then 2 years later, she got her very first Airbnb like 4 weeks ago. You know what
Nice.
I'm saying? So it's
Mhm.
like on her own. Like, just woke up one morning and was like, yo, I'm about to do this thing. So yeah.
So the moral story, we should brainwash our loved ones and just send them subliminal messages each day.
Yeah, man, give people room to grow.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Give people room to grow, man. That one of the worst
Yeah.
things you can do is try to force somebody.
That makes sense. I feel like when I come home every day, I'm big into like crypto and stocks, but I think it goes differently from how you're explaining it. Because like I'm trying to show her price charts, like, yo, look at this, look, look, look. It's probably overwhelming, so it's easier just to go in slowly into something versus
Yeah.
hammering them with information like I do.
Yeah.
So, mhm. So what are some red flags at these like networking events you look for in people? Like, because not everyone is a person that fits what you need. So what are some red flags for you or people in general? Like what should we look out for in business partners, if that makes sense?
For business partners, I would say I don't know if it's necessarily a red flag, but I'm huge on energy,
Hmm.
right? I'm only I only do business with people that I vibe with.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to force a relationship. I'm not trying to force us doing business together. If I don't vibe with you, then I'm not vibing with you. And it just is what it
Hmm.
is. So I've learned that when you go into those type of situations, because a lot of times people are trying to force their agenda on other people, right? A
Hmm.
lot of people are, whether that's like they're trying to get their next sale, they're trying to, build their um, database for whatever. People have their
Yeah.
own, agendas, but people that's overly forceful, overly about them, You just
Mhm.
got to kind of just, watch them closely. But again, like for me, I kind of get past all of that
Mhm.
because usually when they come off like that type of way, they give off a certain kind of energy, and I can feel it.
Yep.
And I don't never like just like say, hey, stop talking to me, but and I may still exchange information, but usually it doesn't really go anywhere because I don't really vibe with them,
Okay.
you know. So I would say just follow your gut, like follow your instincts. A lot of people ignore those primitive instincts that we have. We have them for a reason. Follow your spirit, follow your gut. If you're feeling a certain kind of way about somebody, hey, leave them alone.
Yeah.
You're probably feeling that way for a reason.
Right.
So I'm not super pushy. I'm not super trying to just know everybody and get everybody's contact information or whatever. Like I'm not super thirsty to connect with people. If I
Mhm.
vibe with you, I vibe with you. If I don't, I don't. And that's just kind of like my philosophy.
Okay. So to wrap up, I have like two or three more questions.
Yeah,
So I always see you doing like all these things, right? And I'm just thinking like, there's no way he's in the military because whenever I see you, you're doing an event somewhere, a different city or something. So like, how do you balance like having a 9 to 5 or being military and then doing two other like entrepreneurial ventures? Like, how do you balance that?
yeah. So check this out, right? And this is about to be a shocker.
Yeah, but
I don't believe I don't believe in balance. I
mm,
do not believe in balance. I believe in flow.
mm,
Nothing in this world is balanced, truly,
mm,
right? But things flow,
mm,
right? So just like if you look at relationships, sometimes a relationship will never be 50-50.
mm,
Sometimes it's 40 and 60. Sometimes it's 30-70, whatever the case may be. So as it relates to just the things in my life, it's all about flow. So sometimes I'll prioritize other things more than something else depending on the season that I'm in, right? So I'm never looking to balance things because it'll never be like that. So it's just like flow, give and take. Sometimes I'm here and this is that, like, and um, I've become pretty good at um managing my time.
mm,
So, like I create a schedule for myself. And, sometimes I may drop the ball and I may miss certain things, but for the most part, it keeps me on track, So it's like, and then like the things that I put on my schedule are, what's the word? Like, I'm doing them. Like it's no excuses. They're getting done. So like at 4 a.m. I'm working out. I'm sorry, at 4 a.m. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. 4:15 I'm reading.
mm,
4:45 I'm in the gym. From 4:45 to 6 is my gym period. From 6 to 6:30 I'm getting ready for work, military, right? Active duty military.
mm,
6:30 to 7 I'm on my way to work. Get to work at 7. Don't leave work until 6 p.m. right? Get off work at
mm,
6 p.m. Work still has to be done, right? From six
mm,
from six to 6:15, 6:15, 6:30, I'm eating dinner. From 6:30 to 8, I call it my power hour,
yeah.
just productivity. I'm cranking out whatever I need to do. And then from 8 to 10, I call it honey time. And I dedicate the rest of my night to my wife,
Mm,
right? And catching up on our day, talking about whatever. Um, and I just stick to those things. And then on the weekend, I'm able to do whatever is on my plate, I'm able to knock that out. But it's just like finding that flow, whatever works for you,
mm,
because everybody's situation is different, you know. But I don't make any excuses, and I just, I stick to those things, like. So I would say, you know, don't necessarily look for balance, look for flow, and you know, um, you'll be able to do some remarkable things. Because a lot of times people work their job. They're like, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to, whatever.
mm.
But then it also goes down to what kind of life are you looking to create for yourself.
Right.
You know, what kind of life you're looking to create for yourself. If you're looking to create a certain kind of life for yourself, well, then you got to put in some extra work.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If that's an hour, an hour out of your normal day, it's an hour, but it's something, and it
Right.
compounds over time. You know, so that's one of the things that I adopted that helps me stay on track and helps me continually progress my life.
Like 1% of progress per day. Pretty much.
Yeah,
Slow.
even if it's 0.01%,
Hmm.
it's still a step in the right direction.
Right.
You know?
Those words from the wise. I have to go
Yeah,
back and
man.
listen to this again. Like I said, I always knew you're a different guy. I was like, this guy's probably not 20 years old in this boot camp. He's probably like
this
40.
guy's this guy's like 50 in a 20-year-old body.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's all I
Yeah.
got, man. I really appreciate you coming on, being the first guest. Um, telling you have to do it again next year, same time. Got to.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I appreciate you for having me. Great conversation. I look forward to your growth as an individual. I look forward to your growth with your family and the growth of your podcast, whatever endeavor that you may have, man. I wish you much success.
I really appreciate it. And for the audience, where can they find you? Your socials, websites, anything?
Yeah, so first, you can find me on LinkedIn. They wasn't expecting that. You can
Yeah.
find me on LinkedIn, Malik Hassan. On Instagram, you can find me Malik Hassan underscore AO. Also, you can find me on YouTube Shorts, Malik Hassan underscore AO. Pretty much just type in Malik Hassan and that should pop up.
Alrighty. That wraps it up.
All right, Juice, appreciate you.